Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Starsector. In this video, we're going to talk about broad, general, high-level ship roles in combat. You'll hear people throw around these terms like hammer and anvil, or anchor, flanker, line ship, escort ship, and so on, as people discuss builds in various places online. But as far as I'm aware, no one has really codified those things into a video and presented them in a concise format so that if you don't quite know what's being talked about, you can, watch this video and then have some idea of what's going on and what I might mean in my other videos when I talk about an anchor or a ship designed to be an escort and so on. So let's jump right into ship roles, and then I will run a sample combat to kind of show you how at least high-tech ships might play in line with these roles. The first thing to note is that a ship can fulfill multiple roles, and with roles we're going to talk about 4 here: anchor, line, flanker, and escort. So, first we're going to talk about anchor. An anchor is often a big, chunky ship like a paragon, which is going to hold a position centrally on the battlefield. The anchor is going to be there, other ships are going to work around the anchor, enemy ships are going to have to engage with your anchor because it's so big and so threatening that they have to do something. If they ignore it, it will either destroy their ships or dominate a large enough battle space to put the enemy at a significant disadvantage. So the paragon can be an anchor. It often is used in that way. The astral also counts as an anchor under this terminology. It wants to sit in a specific position and provide a very long-range kind of fire support with its fighters, which, if you ignore the astral, has the potential to do a ton of damage to your fleet if it's on the opposing team, or to the enemy fleet. Like, no one wants to get hit by a ton of bombers repeatedly. You have to deal with something like an enemy astral, which makes it kind of an anchor. A line ship is something that is going to sit adjacent to an anchor, but not be tied to it as an escort. Now, I don't actually have anything that's a good line ship in this fleet. That's not something high-tech normally would do. But if we were going to look at the whole amount of ships in the game, a Dominator would be a good example of a line ship. You can put a bunch of Dominators in a row and just let them fire down lane, and they will do pretty decently. An Atlas Mark II I would count as a line ship. They do perform especially well when you form lines with them and allow their frontal large guns to just fire down lane, powered by accelerated ammo feeder. An Eagle can be built to be a line ship. It will wiggle up and down, north to south, but generally hold a little area next to an anchor. But you can also build an Eagle to be a flanker. And this is a good time to mention that the ship roles and the ships are fluid. You can build a Medusa to be a flanker, or you can build it to be an escort. Mine are built to be more of a flanker. So anchors hold a location, lines hold a battle line, a line of ships that pushes forward or back as needed to pressure and destroy the enemy. A flanker's goal on the battlefield is to wrap around the enemy line and hit them from the side or the rear. Most of the times when you see me personally pilot a ship, I am driving something that I would class as a flanking ship, a flanker ship. I want to get behind enemies, I want to isolate enemies from the enemy line and take them down to improve my team's battlefield advantage. So the Medusa is an excellent flanker ship. On offense, it's going to wrap around the side and pressure. On defense, if the enemy has more ships than you, it's very good at remaining highly mobile and getting away from the enemy with phase skimmer to hopefully get a better position or at least get out of a state where it's being pressured. Now, an escort ship, and this is probably the most mechanically specific kind of ship, an escort ship is designed to be given an escort order. So we would take this Anubis and right-click to attach it to another ship. Now, an escort ship is only allowed, per the escort order, to be a certain distance away from the ship it's escorting. Otherwise, it'll try and catch up. So you'll see here, he quickly gets into a very specific spot next to the Paragon. And if there are enemies around, he's going to try and orbit just as though he were like a little fighter defending the Paragon. And he's going to use his guns to pressure enemies. Due to the escort order, he's not going to back up as often as he probably should. He's going to start taking damage, which can be a problem when giving escort orders. You'll see me use escort orders relatively rarely. I would much prefer to do the sort of layout that you might consider more of a line line formation where we're going to have the Paragon in the middle, and we're going to order our other ships to kind of form a little line with the waypoints. I prefer to do this instead of escort orders most of the time because this allows all of the ships to be a little more mobile and not rigidly lock them to each other. That's just preference. You can make escort orders and stuff used very heavily. You can make them work. You can build ships for it. That's just not what I've been doing recently with the high-tech fleet. We have our anchor. We have our ship that is personally piloted, the Aurora, which is an excellent flanker. This fleet doesn't contain anything that would really function as a line unit except for perhaps the Centurion. Even then, just barely. He's a frigate. He can't really take damage. But as we are high-tech, we have a ton of ships that are good at fighting individual duels that would count as flankers. And of course, these 4 ship roles of anchor, line, flanker, and escort are not the be-all, end-all of roles. There's no rules for ship roles, really. I'm just trying to clarify things because this is something people have occasionally asked about, but there's no, document that talks about this. If you go in the codex and you type in anchor, there's no entries in the codex for anchor. The game itself does not acknowledge that these terms and roles exist. Oh wait, I lied. There's phase anchor, which is completely unrelated to the high-level strategy that we are discussing. That's a hull mod. So this is just kind of shorthand jargon that's been developed by players talking to other players about how they go through ship combat. Very informal, not exactly academic. Anyway, we're here now, so let's do a mock battle using our ships and using these ship roles to kind of discuss and demonstrate how this works, at least for high-tech. Well, we're not fully high-tech. I do have the 1 Centurion. So, fleet is deployed. We'll grab a hegemony fleet. Hegemony ships, in particular, or low-tech in general, is very good at forming lines. The Onslaught, the Dominator, those are classic solid line ships. The Enforcer can function as a flanker or a line ship, or both at the same time in a pinch. Under these classifications, carriers are a little weird in that they would sit in the rear line, but the Condors and the Moras and stuff I would still count them as line ships. We might need to come up with a 5th term to classify ships. Maybe carrier should just be one of the roles, because carriers are kind of an outlier. Anyway, we'll just generate a random hegemony group and show you how this works. So anchor goes in the middle, boom. And the Astral, having a much longer range due to its fighters, is also an anchor, but we're going to put him about 1,500 units behind the Paragon. And instead of having the Anubis lock itself to either of those big anchors as an escort, I'm just going to put it on the waypoint, the same waypoint as the Paragon, so it's going to kind of orbit in the same area. Now, since there aren't any points to capture on this map, because we're in Sim and the comm relays and nav buoys don't really exist here, we just have the Medusas to worry about. And a very simple way to kind of keep them nearby and make sure they don't get isolated is just throw out 2 defend orders like that, which then just leaves the personally piloted Aurora. Of course, we're not going to give orders to, we're going to play it, we're going to fly it, and we're going to win this little sim battle, hopefully. And you see our ships kind of naturally spreading out in this U shape, so even though we're not trying to form a line with waypoints, your ships will naturally form a battle line. Of course, as the flanking designated ship, we are going to try and wrap around their line and get into duels with isolated ships, like this Enforcer that's burning toward us right now. Just get in close, do some damage, and back up once help is on the way for him. Even just overloading a ship like that is still value. It would be better to, eliminate an enemy ship. Okay, Dominator. We don't want to toe-to-toe the Dominator, but we can distract him, tie him up, while we work on these kites. So every enemy ship we take down reduces overall enemy effectiveness, even if it's something small. Okay, so those are done, so they're not going to tie up any more of our ships. And now, maybe we're in a good position. If that Dominator rotates away from us, we can shoot it in the back. If it rotates toward us, then our allies are going to maybe be able to move in on it. But I tend to pilot ships that function as flankers because they benefit most from the player using them. You can make these tactical decisions on when to engage and which ship to take down and how exactly We want to try and pick off ships. So here we still have something of a line formed. The hegemony has pushed us back because they are just better at this kind of slogging it out fight. The thing is that we want the Paragon basically to stall and the Anubis to stall for time while we get the value from the bombers being launched from the Atlas, which I don't really have a lot of time to look at. I'm over here dueling this Dominator. But the longer we can keep the Atlas protected and it can just fire infinite Atroposes down lane, the better. And by buying time, we can locally and individually use our Aurora to eliminate enemy ships and slowly gain a larger strategic level advantage. Okay, we're actually just gonna curve around him again real quick, just because I don't want to be super close to that Enforcer. But yeah, he's a very durable guy, and he's gone now. Now that Enforcer, who came here to rescue that Dominator, is the next isolated target. There we go, stick to him. Now my combat style relies very much on personally piloting. I will sit down and make guides and try and talk about fleet command at some point, but it's not my specialty. So anytime I'm doing these kind of videos, probably if you're going to emulate what I do, you're going to want to practice your personal piloting. And doing it in simulator like this is great. Now, they are very much succeeding at flanking us. There's really not much to do here. Note that the Paragon still has plenty of flux pool and barely any hard flux built up, so he looks like he's in trouble, but he's actually not yet. And now that that Enforcer has gotten to our Atlas, the Atlas has started firing missiles. The Atlas has barely any flux generated, so he's not in trouble yet. Now, for safety's sake, I don't necessarily think we have to do this, but we're going to do it anyways. We're just going to shift the formation like this so that we don't get fully surrounded. We're just kind of going to move everyone to the bottom left a little and buy some time. We have maneuvering room back here. Might as well. And I'm going to keep trying to eat through ships one by one because they're all kind of formed like this. We can just go one by one through them until we can achieve a better amount of superiority. Although actually, I think right now we're about equal on ships on the field. I don't think I've seen a death notice for any of our ships, so technically we're ahead. It doesn't feel like that yet, and I want to be certain of victory here. I don't want to do half measures in something that I expect you guys to look to as maybe an example of play for your own games. I want to do as well as I can, even if that's overkill, alright? Okay, we've gotten pressured by 2 ships. We did do some damage. We fluxed him out. We'll just drop shields and deal with this other Enforcer while the other one is busy venting. Not perfect, but it's going to work. So he did get to vent, but we killed his friend, and we're just going to go for him now. Come on, antimatter blasters. There we go. We've won the flux trade. And we are in his hull. Airing him up. Ooh, and that's kind of an opportunity. That Legion is pointed the wrong way, and a Legion is a very slow-moving ship with front-locked shields. So we can probably turn him around, or at least come here and tickle his engines, kind of bravely. Then we're going to have to try and run. I've accidentally pushed this Enforcer out of position, so let's stick to him for a minute. That was not planned, but it did work. Fancy flying, ow. Now, this Aurora is out of peak performance time, so we're about to start losing combat readiness, which is no good. But against the Hegemony, their ships are low-tech. They're just going to have more combat readiness than us, especially since I'm safety overridden, which is how we're getting a lot of this advantage. And we cracked one of the Legions. Oh yeah, look at that, look at that. There's the missiles from the Atlas. And with one of their capital ships down, wait, that was both capital ships. With both of their Legions down, we are now definitely in a position to go on the offensive. So we're going to target their remaining cruisers and their destroyer. And now this is the wrap-up. They are already dead. And we have a bit of time left before our CR totally degrades to help with eliminating them. But this battle is functionally over. Yep, there's the Anubis going on the offensive behind us. Good job, team. Get them. With teammates backing me up, and them mostly eliminated, I can be a little more brave. Just go get in here, throw that debris at him to block his line of fire for a second, and we are going to try and wrap around him. I still don't want to nose-to-nose Dominator. He just has more firepower than me. No need to risk it. Alright, stick to him, and he's just going to get shot from all sides. Totally wrecked. This is kind of the weakness of the Dominator. Getting surrounded is bad, but if they can avoid being surrounded, they perform very well. And there's the swarm from the Astral. and that's this battle complete. Oh, there's still an eagle all the way down there, but he's definitely going to die. I think this is enough explanation for you guys to kind of see how, at least with high tech, how you might use your anchors, your flankers, your personally piloted flanker. And if we were under more pressure, or there were more enemy carriers, I might assign the Anubis as an escort, but he did just fine being locked to that waypoint. Anyway, that is a general overview of terms. Hopefully that's of some use to you. Again, you don't have to think in those terms or in that way to play the game. The game doesn't even mention them, but some people find it helpful, and because I talk with people about ships a lot, and they use those terms, I've naturally ended up using them sometimes without defining what they were. So hopefully this will serve as a bit of a more hard and fast definition and be of use to you. So, with that said, I will catch you all next time in the next video. If you have any questions that you'd like answered, or there's a specific ship or concept in Starsector that you would like me to try and make a video about, let me know in the comments, and I will consider adding it to my to-do list. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. And also a special thanks to Irish Fighter on YouTube, another small Starsector streamer who's just getting started. Irish has been playing a lot of the United Auroran Federation faction lately on his live streams over on Twitch, and he is working on making some videos on YouTube as well. Highly recommend checking out his stuff as well. I will leave a link to his channel down in the description.